In 1978, so that's 39 years ago in the fall, my first husband, Ken One, had just graduated from University of Tennessee and got his first teaching job, which was at an interesting school. It was a public school, but it was a state-run school. And it was the only state-run public school in the whole of the United States. And it was in the middle of Appalachia, so it was in between Nashville and Knoxville, kind of way up toward the border of Tennessee and Kentucky, and it was truly Appalachia. And the name of the school was called York Institute, and it was huge. It was acres, hundreds and hundreds of acres, and had an ag campus and just all sorts of departments. It was like going to a college, really, and he was hired to be the art professor. So we actually moved into a house on campus. They actually had housing for teachers at that time, which was really cool. And it was there that I began to learn about the history of that place, which is what this little vignette is going to be about, because it is the 99th anniversary of something of the man who this institute was named after. So the name of this was York Institute, and it was named after a hero of World War I named Alvin C. York. And 99 years ago today, October 8th, 1918, he single-handedly took out a whole nest of Germans and became one of the most decorated heroes ever in the history of the United States. Now, this doesn't seem unusual, except when you begin to find out about his history. So his history was he had been raised in Appalachia. He was excellent with a rifle, evidently, and could never missed. That was his big thing. And if you ever get a chance, there is a great movie, an older movie starring Gary Cooper, and it's called simply Sergeant York. And if you ever get an opportunity to see it, they show it regularly on TCM. Probably will be showing it today. I highly recommend it, and it's a very true representation of his story. Anyway, he was what they would call in Appalachia, a young'un. He very rebellious, to say the least. Was into drinking, gambling, smoking, you name it. And his parents, of course, weren't. His mother was extreme believer in the Lord. Anyway, his father died, I think, in 1911. It kind of really put him in a tailspin because he had to be the head of the household at that point. And he had fallen in love with a girl there, Gracie, and he was trying to save his money. He was doing everything he could to buy some what they call bottom land, which is like rich land. It's not on the hill, so it's bottom land is in the valley. It's where it's very fertile. And somebody, another young man, actually, kind of messed him over, and he lost that land, so he thought he could never marry Gracie. So he went out and just totally got drunk and was going to take vengeance on this guy. And he was riding back, very drunk, on his horse with his rifle. It was a lightning storm. And he's just not afraid, because he was very unafraid of anything. And literally lightning hit him, knocked him off his horse. And he had a revelation of God. Seriously, he had and he was not hurt in any way, shape, or form. His horse wasn't even hurt. He wandered in. When he came to, he was close to his mother's little church where his mother went in, and went down to the altar and got saved. Now, this was a very more strict Christian church, and I don't remember the exact denomination, but besides gambling, smoking, drinking, etc., which he did, they were also pacifist. And so he took this literally. I mean, just as much as he was a hell-raising young man, he knew who Jesus was. And so shortly after this, and he has really become radicalized as a firm believer. He hears God, and he gets his draft notice for World War I. And his pastor also runs a general store, and he said, I don't know what to do. And so he tried to put in, as a pacifist, and they, of course, called him up to the carpet and said, no, you can't do it. And so his pastor advised him, just go. It's like you need to do this. So he went, but they gave him a really hard time because he tried to get out as pacifist, not realizing how well he could shoot. Anyway, I'm not going to give you the whole story, but it came a time when they wanted to promote him and send him away. They were going to make him a higher rank, and actually brought him up to where he would teach other people, the other recruits, how to shoot. And so his head officer wanted to promote him, and he really wrestled with it. And he went up to this place, and it's a literal place. I've been there, Cumberland Gap, and just sat there with his Bible for days and saying, God, you've got to give me a revelation. And finally the Lord spoke to him after several days and just said, render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar, unto God the things that are God's. And so he went to his commander and said, okay, I'll accept the post. I'll be the leader, He said, I can't guarantee you how I'm going to do because about shooting people. But he said, I believe that I need to do this. So when the time came and this incident, World War I, came up, he just did what needed to be done. This nest of people, Germans, were taking people out right and left. He just plucked them off, just like turkeys. If you watch the movie, it's like he was really good at hunting turkeys, and he had a whole method for it. And he just picked them off just like that. And when they, commended him for it, he just said, well, gee, I just did what I've always done. And the main reason, so he said, the senator from Tennessee at that time asked him, well, why did you do that? And he said, I thought you were a pacifist. He said, well, I figured, and he spoke in that language, that it was better for me to kill a few people, because that had a better opportunity of me stopping the killing if I could kill the people who were killing. It's kind of an interesting way he put it. So he was commended by everybody. President, he was given the key to the city. It was just an amazing thing. And brought back home, and he still wanted to marry Gracie, and I suggest you watch the movie. It's really good. And he just said, well, I can't marry you because I don't have money, we don't have land, you're going to have to wait a few more years. And so she's busting at the seams to tell him. They finally pull up into Jamestown, Tennessee, which is this small little town where we were, that my first husband and I were in. And the state of Tennessee had so rewarded him. They gave him 500 acres, the best bottomland, built him a house with a well and a bathroom. I mean, just at that time, it was like top of the line. He and Gracie were able to get married. I think somebody really prominent actually came down and married them. But my point in telling you this is that he followed God through it, and he followed his conscience, and he followed his heart. And to me, he is a very, very true hero that deserves to be honored this day, 99 years on the day. And the Allard Institute, where my first husband taught and where I lived, was just literally a mile, or not even 2 miles away. Gracie still lived there. Alvin had already died, and she still would greet people and talk to people. She was very old by the time I lived there. But it was truly an inspirational story, and the Hollywood version was, from what I heard, very, very accurate. So if you ever get a chance, watch it. And we don't see too many acts of this kind of courage anymore, or at least we don't hear about them.